Give me another beer. This is going to be a bad one.
Here we go. So, welcome back to another episode of Inside BBI with John and Eric. I am John. I can't fucking believe I just watched that happen again, McDevitt. And this is senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric. What the hell is this clown show doing today, Kennedy? Here we are. I cannot freaking believe it. You showed a beer. I went with gin and tonic in my Inside BBI glass.
Oh.
Eric, I know, quite frankly, to be honest, I'm pretty positive I talked you into this.
Yes, you did. I didn't want to do this.
He did not want to do it. We were talking briefly just before we came on, and we are going to keep this tight. I know the bets are in. We're going to keep it tight on purpose for a lot of reasons. My wife literally asked me while I was right at the end of the game. She goes, why do you watch these guys? Why do you even root for them? Look what it does to you. And I'm like, and then I said to her jokingly, I said, thank God I'm not superstitious, because we got together in the summer of 2012. The Giants won the Super Bowl in 2011. We haven't won anything since that time, since we've gotten together. I go, thank God I'm not superstitious, baby, because
we've had good. When we first started this, we had some decent stuff, and we had some good. Look,
but that was my previous life, Eric. Don't forget that.
If it wasn't for the people who have contributed to the site financially this year, I'd walk away from this right now, because I'm getting no joy with this team anymore. It's just not. There's so much good going on in the world and interesting things going on in the world, and the Giants are not one of them. The Giants are a stupid organization run by stupid people, coached by stupid people. They're just fucking stupid, and I'm tired of it. They're just stupid.
No,
Things happened this year that you think they would freaking learn the lesson from. Like, maybe we should do something about the place kicker. He missed an extra point I put that in the preview, by the way. We didn't talk about it in the podcast, but I put it in the preview. But he missed an extra point. They have another kicker. This goes back to the last year and the year before, too, with their games with the kickers. They did the same damn thing that they did in Dallas. Shane Bowen's a coward, and he's over his head, and he's not a defensive coordinator, and the team is, and the defensive players obviously feel that way. And Dable's a dead man walking. Bowen's a dead man walking, and they have two of the most exciting rookies to come along in a long time in the league, and they're blown because they can't coach, they can't run an organization, and the only thing that may save their fucking asses at this point is the owner has cancer. And they may say we can't do a coaching search, and we can't put the mirror through this, and we're just going to stand pat until this gets settled one way or the other. And that's what I'm dreading right now at this point, is because he's sick, they won't even do what they need to do and pull the plug on all this, and they'll bring this clown show back again. And if they do that, I can't deal with this, John. This is a clown show. This is awful, and it sucks the life out of you. And how do you give up? You looked it up. Has a team ever given up 33 points in a quarter?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
The most points in a quarter period is 41. The most points in a fourth quarter is 34 that Detroit did on Chicago, I believe, a couple of years ago. But
this time we have 10 games left.
Google's already noted that the Broncos came pretty close yesterday. 33 points in the fourth quarter. But I think with the time remaining, you take that part of it, how many points they scored with that much time, it's mind-boggling at the moment to think what happened. There's a couple of things that I want to say. I know a lot of people have been jumping on about fire Bowen. You can't blame Daboll for everything, or fire Daboll, and it's because of this, or Shane should go because of that. I'm gonna sidestep most of the other stuff, but I'm going to stick to Daboll because that is where it all starts and ends. I have a real problem. I've said this numerous times. I have a problem with the inconsistency of logic that he applies to different situations in the game. For whatever reason, he does certain things, and then you think, okay, I see what you're trying to do. And then he does something that doesn't make sense with the pattern of what you did. Case in point, when you get the ball back, and this is what's leading up to the Broncos using their timeouts, right? When they wanted to start using their timeouts. When you line up coming right out, you have two thoughts in mind. One, we want to either get a first down, or at the very least, we want them to use all their timeouts. Mm-hmm. If your plan is we do want to try to get that first down, Eric, I'll just ask you, what of the three downs do you try to throw the ball on?
Oh, you mean when you're trying to? Yeah, you do it earlier. You do it earlier. Yeah.
You line up in a run-heavy formation. You know that's what they're going to do. The Giants have been doing that all day, is lining up in a run-heavy formation. And then you maybe pull something where you fake it a little bit. He rolls, he throws a quick one, and you try to get some extra yards. The second you don't do that, the second you run into the line and you gain 1 yard, they take their timeout. You've now committed to running 2 more times. You're committing to eating up their timeouts. The Giants do it again. They run in the middle of the line. You get stopped. Okay, third down. Even if you're so crazy that you're going to throw the ball, you do not go 4 wide, spread them out when you haven't done that all game long. You invited the rush to come after Dart. So, geez, that's weird. Maybe that could have been applied at the end of the game when we were on defense.
Yeah.
Well, you spread them out, and then you let the rush come in. Dart should not have thrown the ball, but guess what? You know what Daboll said when he made Dart the quarterback? He's a rookie. You're going to have to live with some highs, and you're going to have to live with some lows because he's a rookie. You don't put the guy in that kind of situation where you go 4 wide, and your 4 wides include Jalen Hyatt, little Jordan Humphrey, Wandell, little tiny Robinson, who's played much better, but still, and you're asking him to make this play. By the way, I still think he sprained his ankle earlier in the game. He still limped around a little bit. Why at that point would you do that? Why wouldn't you just line up big, use your tight ends like you did? Even if you wanted to throw, it doesn't matter ultimately if you only get 2 or 3 yards. Their timeout would have been used.
Teacher, I have the answer. They're stupid.
Thank you.
They're stupid people. This is an organization run by stupid people. They chased an extra point, which was stupid.
For no reason when you're up that much, by the way.
What
for no reason when you're up by that much, there's no reason to chase it.
No, that was stupid. You don't do that. And it gets back, and they're doing it in college too, and they're doing the pros. All right, this analytics crap is bullshit. Stop doing it. It's crap. Everyone buys into it. I watched a bunch of college games. It backfires more than it doesn't. It does. It's stupid. And chasing that extra point screwed them. They lost. Of course, the Denver got both their 2-point conversions. And of course, we didn't get our 2-point conversion. Yeah. We missed our extra point. Of course, that happened. And of course, the Giants take the lead again, and they missed the extra point. And you knew the game was screwed there because dumbass Shane Bowen doesn't learn anything from the Dallas game and does the same goddamn thing and the same result. And I'm there now with you officially on Deonte Banks, by the way. But Shane Bowen's a moron. He's over his head. And this is the problem, John. I have never, ever, ever, ever been one of those guys that says a knee-jerk guy and says, fire this guy after the game. Fire this guy after the game. I've always said, what are you going to do? That's not going to work. You wait till well, not this time. Bowen should have been fired today. And they didn't do it. Bowen should have been fired today. They should have had Andre Patterson or somebody else take over the defense because the Bowen not only is over his head, the players don't respect him anymore. No. So the rest of the season is just going to be, us looking at Dart and Scadaboo and some of the other things and seeing how awful this is going to be. They may win some games here and there, but this is just waiting again for January. And as I said, for months, that the downfall of Brian Daboll is going to be his inability to pick defensive coordinators or attract defensive coordinators, and here we are. And this is going to sink him. And again, the only thing that might save him is the situation with Mara at this point. But I don't know how I have no confidence, and I don't think the players do. You can look at them now. I mean, I don't know if you saw Bobby Okereke and Andrew Thomas address the media this afternoon. I'll post those on the site soon. But they look, as you would expect, they're all beaten down. Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence and these guys that have been here for a while, they've got to be like, you got to be kidding me. Though that said, it would have been nice if some of these players did something in the fourth quarter to stop the other team from scoring 33 points, but that's a different matter altogether.
Yeah.
But I put that mostly on the coaches, to be honest with you.
No. See, I'm trying to. I gotta be careful how I say, because I said something in the preview show, which is the Giants need to win 4 games. It doesn't really matter if you lose, which 2 you lose. You got to win 4 if you even want to be, in it for the last 6 weeks of the season, whatever in it is, whether it's last wild card spot or just being considered to even be a part of it. But there are differences in losses. Not all losses are equal. if the Giants had gone to Denver and Denver had played the way a lot of people predicted, even you yourself, thought their defense would have been holding the Giants down, right?
I never thought we'd score 24 points, let alone 32. Holy crap.
So if they had done that and the Giants played tough and stayed within 7 or 8 points but just could never make enough hay against their defense to win the game, you would look at it and go, okay, they were on the road. It was a really good team. Dart didn't wilt, but we just don't have enough weapons. We dominated defensively the whole first half. Knicks looked awful. He looked horrible. The Giants offense, it missed a couple things. There were some chances to really put them away. But the thing that got me instantly, and it stayed with me all the way into, even when we went up to 19, was that missed extra point early. When we missed that first one, and my wife said when he made the first one, she goes, geez, that one looked kind of close to hitting the bar. And I'm like, God damn it. He did that last time.
The first one, so did the other one that he made in the previous game, too.
He made the first one barely, and then he did the same. And on this second time, he overcompensated. He does not look like a kicker who does this naturally. It's very mechanically thought through, and he was trying not to hook it, so he pushed it. And I'm like, how do you miss the extra point? This is the easiest part of whatever you're going to do. And he did it twice.
Because he didn't do this in college. I don't know if people know this. Right. He wasn't a field goal kicker for Rutgers. It was Rutgers, right? Wasn't it Rutgers? Mm-hmm. He wasn't the field goal kicker for them. He was the kickoff specialist. They had a guy because the other guy at Rutgers was a better kicker than him. So the Giants are using a guy that they shouldn't even be. This is, again, stupid. They're a stupid team. And the guy that they tried out, I just saw this on my Twitter feed, that they were competing with the Korean kicker that they signed, is 7 for 7 with Green Bay because he had worked out with the Giants at the same time. And so, of course, the one that the Giants didn't sign is the one who's 7 for 7 right now and just kicked like a 60-yard field goal for the Packers. And
I thought
moron can't hit it. And again, I feel bad.
I think Young Ho Koo is on our practice squad.
Right, but he competed against another kicker.
I see what you're saying. I got you.
Yeah. Yep. And look, I don't blame the kicker. I blame the Giants. This is the Giants that put him in.
Absolutely.
The kicker is not qualified. The kicker is not an NFL caliber player. At least not this year. Maybe down the road he could develop into a kicker, but he's not a kicker. And so here we are again. The Giants have lost the game because they can't do the simplest things. The coach, as you mentioned, the coach does all these weird things. They're not consistent at all. And again, chasing the extra point was stupid. And they would have been better off, when they were up. What did we say that one? It was over 1,000 times that teams.
Yeah, it's like 1,062-0 when they were up by 18 or more with that much time left in the fourth quarter.
They probably would have been better off if they just kept taking knees, and not in that way, not throwing the interception. But again, it's just infuriating, John, because I hate being, and I know you like doing this. I'm not one of those guys that like to say a lot. Oh, they could be 4-3, or they could be, if this goes that way. But they really could this year because they've done. That's my word of the day. Stupid. They're stupid teams.
Well, at the very least, you can take out any other games except for the Dallas and Denver games. They led in both those games. They led very late in the game. The game is there to win. You're not trying to catch up and hopefully, and oh man, if only he made that catch, we would have won. You were in the lead. You were in the lead, and there was very little time left. And to replay what you did in Dallas, which they did, I don't care if you say, well, they ran a little bit different. We had 2 safeties here, and we didn't do that there. You did the same thing, though.
Same thing. And the players think the same thing. You saw, and everyone saw Burns screaming or yelling coming in through the tunnel.
Why? It's a song as old as time, which is why do you play prevent defense? It only prevents you from winning. But the thing that really sticks out though is teams that are right that are winning teams, right? With a winning organization, a winning mindset. They don't go, we're going to just rush 3 guys. This isn't, George Martin, Leonard Marshall, Lawrence Taylor, and we're running the 3, and the rest of our guys are going to play back. Who, by the way, you had a bunch of Pro Bowlers behind those guys too. You don't have that right now. You have a defense that's still kind of trying to figure its shit out. You've got injuries back there. what you don't do is you don't give the quarterback, who does not have a huge arm, who
Right.
has not been tearing you up down the field most of the game, you don't give him time. And by the way, what's the other thing that he has a real problem with? Passes being knocked down. Well, it's a lot easier to not have them knocked down when you've only got 3 guys spread across the field. There was a wide open middle when he goes to throw the ball. Nobody was there. I hated every moment of that. The other part about the kicker thing that I want to bring up, again, it goes to the schizophrenic or just contradictory thought process that Dayball has. We overspend for Gano. We pay a ton of money for a kicker to win games for us, right? We're a losing organization, but somehow having a veteran kicker who's worth millions of dollars is super important to our 3 wins from last year. So you bring him back after he had his injury and totally screwed us in a game. You bring him back again, even though we're tight on the cap, but he gets hurt again. Okay, fine. He's hurt. Your idea is to get this guy, who you don't trust to kick field goals, by the way. You literally, anything beyond 35 yards.
Trust him to kick field goals.
So apparently in New Jersey, we can have him as a kicker. We just don't want to use him.
Yeah.
So
stupid. They're stupid football.
Everything that they do backfires. So the thing that I said a couple of weeks ago when we talked about Dayball possibly being fired, if you think you are going to fire him, I still feel like you have to do it pretty soon. If you don't, at the end of the season, it's going to be very difficult to separate Dayball and Dart. Look at them on the sidelines. When the Giants retook the lead, I believe when they went up like 26 and 26-8, I think at that point, Dayball's on the sidelines. He's got his arm around Dart. They're talking like the game's over kind of shit. And I thought, and I even kind of said it to myself, I'm like, what are you doing? It's not time for you two to be chummy. You go back there with Wilson. Go sit there with Winston. Whatever. Dayball, you need to pay attention to the freaking defense right now. What are you doing? But these guys are really, really tight, and I like Dart. I think Dart has something special that the Giants can work with. He's got some things he's got to fix. The deep passes are a little off, but let's be honest. How often do we run deep passes? So I give him a little bit of credit there, but you got to start hitting some of those. But the rest of the stuff, this dude, he just has that thing. He has a Jim McMahon quality to him about bringing everybody around. But I mean, he kind of rallies the other guys around, and his personality takes over. But he also mans up afterwards and just takes responsibility for stuff.
Yeah, I saw you liked his comment after the game.
I mean, it's true, right? Like he said, this shit can't keep happening. And he's like, I can't make that throw. I can't have that happen. And he's right. But you know what? If he doesn't make some of the other throws that he did when he's moving around the pocket and looking down the field, I mean, my God, Daniel Bellinger, all of a sudden, he became a threat. He scored his first touchdown, by the way, since 2022. I mean, it's hard to believe. But anyway,
Biting Max had a great review again, and he made a point. It's kind of a sort of throwback to their rookie season. Bellinger and Wan'Dale Robinson are like driving much of the team this year, like those two did in 2022 for a while.
Right.
And so, but again, he's going to be a free agent, and that's going to be a tough call too with the other people. No, we appreciate it.
Oh, dude,
your money. You're going to need it.
Thank you
for the booze.
So I'm going to say something. I said I'd promise 3 things, but I'll give the one. I'll give the surprise one right now. I think the Giants should trade Wan'Dale Robinson. The reason why is this.
They should trade Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah. The reason why is this. In 2022, even though we had a winning record, there was thought that the Giants should trade Saquon Barkley, and the Giants didn't do it. But they couldn't get him signed. They ended up we know what happened then. We had to franchise him. We give Jones a shit ton of money, all this stuff. If you don't know that you're going to commit a big contract to Wan'Dale next year, his trade value will never be higher than it is right now. I know your depleted receiving core is going to say, well, we need to give weapons to Dart to see. I get that. But you're going to have to play Jalen Hyatt and see whatever you can get out of him for the rest of the year. Hopefully Slayton's going to be healthy and he'll be able to play and get whatever you can get out of him. Bo Collins, get whatever you can get. Gunner, get whatever you can get. Bring up Amir Smith-Marset, get whatever you can get. I don't care. Bring up Juice Wells. I don't care. The Giants have to look at what are you going to do in this offseason. If you're not giving Wan'Dale a contract, and I don't know necessarily that you should based on just X number of games, and you think receiver is going to be a need anyway, I think you got to look at the direction of what you want to do with this team, and he is a tradable asset at his
Well,
peak.
we can talk about that later. Again, if you were arguing just a few days ago that you need to give Dart some weapons so you can develop him. So, but we'll talk about that later. We should focus on the Denver game more than it. But Wandale has played a few good games this year, which is nice to see. I can't believe they scored what should have been 5. Somebody made a great post too. They said the Giants scored 5 touchdowns and lost to a team that scored 33 points. So, and I said that to my wife just about an hour ago. And I said, do the math. And she's like, damn it.
Yeah, same as last year, right? We give up 7 field goals, we score 3 touchdowns, and we lose by 3 points.
Yeah. So it's just so infuriating that this team finds, and I know the NFL, there are teams every week, every year, going back forever, there are heartbreaking losses. There are some teams that just seem more jinxed than others. There are other teams just like the Giants that just lose heartbreaking loss after heartbreaking loss. But it just seems like it's been happening for the Giants for 10 years now, and they find new ways to lose that are unbelievable. 33 points in one quarter. They're up 19-0, and then they're up 26-8, and they still lose. They lose the game. And there weren't a lot of turnovers. There was just one turnover. And it's just and the fact that they could go in against that defense in that stadium and score 5 touchdowns with a rookie quarterback, those wide receivers, to me, is astounding. You were right. You were predicting that they would score a lot of points. I was like, that's crazy. I remember I played that. Are you?
Yeah, no, you did. Yes.
I never thought that would do that. I thought we were going to come on here in the fourth quarter, and I was going to I'm going to have to be like to John. I'm like, but they
did what they always do.
The bigger problem is this: the players don't trust the defensive coordinator. That's obvious. It's public now. They don't trust him. We had whispers of that last year, but now we're seeing it in public. So why they're keeping him at this point to me is strange, because he's over his head. And they had interviewed other people. And the irony again is we've talked about Daniel Jones is in with the Colts, but Jerome Henderson, who they interviewed for the defensive coordinator position, they fired and let him go to Indianapolis, and he's there too, doing pretty well. So it's like, once again, we picked the wrong. So the question is, if they keep Dable, I don't think he can attract a good defensive coordinator, because why would anyone want to hitch their wagon to him? And so to me, you got to get rid of Dable too. So as you're talking about getting rid of him before the end of the year, I don't know if that's going to happen, but this is a mess. I mean, it's a shame, because this team has talent. They can play with anybody in this league.
Sure.
They can play with anybody. Are they perfect? No. Do they have holes? Yes, but they can play with anybody in this league, and and they find ways to lose, which is just with a rookie quarterback who's exciting, and an exciting running back. That's what's frustrating about this.
The scary thing for me with Daboll, again, is the connection with Dart. The longer you leave those two together, the harder it's going to be to separate it at the end. You're going to have a hard time separating anything good that Dart does from Daboll's piece of it. But I think Daboll's overall, first off, if Daboll comes back by any miraculous chance, he needs to have his, and we talked about this before, he needs to have his Ray Hanley. He needs to have that guy that tells him, call a timeout, challenge this one, down and distance, this is what we need to be doing. No, don't do that. He has got to be one of the worst in-game managers I have ever seen in my life. The things that he does makes no sense.
What if he does have one of these analytics guys doing that for him now, though? They have analytics people.
He seems more like, and I bet you, I guarantee you they do. But don't you get the feeling he does shit off, like, sort of, off his cuff? He seems really emotional about, like, he's running on the field calling timeout when we were, like, possibly scoring. And I'm thinking, even if we didn't score, who gives a shit? First off, it'll be called down from above. If it is, you don't need a timeout. You're in no hurry to run that next play anyway. You can go and take a little bit of time, get it down to about 18 seconds, run another play. You then can call your timeout if you need to run again. I'm talking about on the goal line. Instead, he runs out, calls a timeout. Yes, we get the timeout back, but that was really off the cuff that moment. There was no reason to overreact right then. You're on the goal line. if anything, you want to score and have Denver have absolutely no time
Right,
left
I was
to do
thinking
anything.
about that. I was thinking about that before you start talking about that. Like, if they had gotten stuffed on the first down, they probably would have won the game.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, as long as you score. I mean, there is that.
There's always that risk. But again, I mean, I have to admit, John, I was afraid of them scoring too quickly. And
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
I was glad they scored, but I was almost a little afraid, and because of the Dallas game.
Yes.
So I was thinking, I want to score, but I don't want to score too quickly here. But you always have to. Look. You have to score because there's no guarantee you get in there. But in a way, obviously, it backfired, and then it was just like, I mean, people can talk about it in chat. Didn't we all get nervous when they were lining up for the extra point? So,
oh God, I mean, already. I mean, I was worried from when we missed the first one.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's not good. Like,
and you know what they're going to do? They're going to go with the other kicker. So they'll either bring in a new kicker or they'll go with the one on the practice squad, and Ryan Dunleavy had a good quote, where somebody was like, why don't you guys ask Dable these questions? And he said, we do ask them the question. They get all defensive. The fans get all pissed off. Then
there is truth to that.
Then it comes up and bites them in the ass again, and then they change. And so that's where we are again right now, because they're stupid. They're John, what's so frustrating about this is it's not like the things that they did were something that happened 5 years ago. It's stuff that's happened recently, as recent as a few games ago, and they didn't learn anything from those. They didn't learn anything from those lessons. They're still doing the same stupid things. And again, I just think Dable is. If we've learned anything, is that these people can't coach. I mean, they may maybe coach at a lesser level, but they can't.
Well, and I think, and as revisionist history as it is, I think while we all loved it for the year that it was, that early portion of 22, and you mentioned this when we brought this up once before, was not necessarily a mirage per se, but you do have to take into account that the Giants got some very needed turnovers. They were able to get, guys like Rodgers turning the ball over, Lamar Jackson turning the ball over, Baker Mayfield with the Panthers turning the ball over. You were able to get turnovers, and the Giants were able to get out on top of that. They used the misdirection stuff between Barkley and Jones to their advantage for a while. Injuries started to set in a little bit. Barkley started to wear down. And then you saw that, Daboll wasn't as smart as we thought overall. Again, you don't know that yet. We weren't able to scheme our way through that stuff in the second half as easily. And then the Vikings game happened. A perfect storm of bad, good stuff where we score on a team that, by the way, gave up 30-plus points to a Colts team coached by, Jeff Saturday, who gave up a ton of points to the Giants' poor offense, but ended up winning on a very long field goal in that game. We somehow beat them in a playoff game. But since that time, since Daboll started the first 8 games at 6-2, he's won like 13 games since. Total.
Yeah. You are what you are. What did Parcells always used to say? You are what you are.
You are what your record is.
You are what your record is. They are what they are, and they're a losing organization run by stupid people. And it's not just them; it's the people above them. They're stupid people, and I don't want them to clean house again, but this is not working, and they're going to wreck Dart, and they're going to wreck Scadaboo, and they're going to wreck some of the younger players on this team, because this team is cursed right now with this crap. And the question is if they do get rid of Dable and the coaching staff, is Shane safe or not? Probably, but I don't know why he should be considered safe at this point either. He's not the one who really wanted Dart. It was Dable that did that. And as I've said a couple podcasts in a row, if we get anything out of Dable, he brought Dart into this situation. Dart's here, I think, because of Dable. So we can thank him for that if Dart looks. And I think, look, the Giants lost the lead with 2 minutes left in the game, and Dart took them down the field. Again, there were some extenuating circumstances on that drive, but he took them down the field, and he scored, and they scored a touchdown, and it looked like they had won the game. For a rookie quarterback to do that in Denver against that defense was phenomenal. That was phenomenal, and so it's just another indication that Dart looks like he might be the real deal. So there are positives on this team. I got to think that somebody on the outside looking in, including teams that have played the Giants. So, you look at people for head coaching jobs, defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators who we may have played against, and they've looked at the film. They may look at the Giants and go, this is a pretty good situation. They have a young quarterback. They have a good players on defense who can rush the passer. They got a running back. They got a left tackle. We can go down the line, and they may say, this is a good situation. I would like to go to that team. However, the question is, do they want to deal with the Maras, and do they want to deal with Shane? That I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I still don't really know. Did Dable have complete autonomy to hire any defensive coordinator he wanted? Was he behind hiring Wink? Was he behind hiring Shane Bowen? If you watch Hard Knocks, with their thing, it looks like Dable made the decision. But I don't know if ownership. We know that in the past, the mayor Wellington butt his head into assistant coach things. When they changed under Coughlin, they changed assistant coaches, and Wellington put pressure on Coughlin to change his assistant coaches. I don't know if his son does the same thing, and I don't know if Shane does that. What we did learn this past week too is Shane does make game day decisions on the roster more. Somebody reported that. I don't remember who it was. It was either a national reporter or a local reporter, but they said of all the GMs in the league, Shane has more influence on who's playing on game day than most other GMs in the league. So I just don't know how much of this is other people interfering and butting their heads in. That's not to defend Dable. I'm just curious about that. And if these other people are responsible for this mess too, it shouldn't be just Dable that falls on the sword here. It should be other people that get out, and they should start. But I think this is an attractive situation otherwise than that. That's me.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, my big problem right now is the head coach. You make all the decisions during the game. I don't care who was active and wasn't active, because you were winning. You were winning 19-0, but it should have been at least 20-0 if you just kicked the extra. Now, again, he could have missed it.
But what if Shane is the reason they had the kicker is Shane? What if Shane's the reason that kicker's there?
But my point is, he made the first extra point. He missed the second one. On the third touchdown, you still could have just kicked the extra point. You didn't have to go for 2 and guarantee that you were stuck at 19. You could have just tried to kick it. Let's assume with less pressure at that point in time, maybe he doesn't overthink it and he makes that extra point.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Instead, you go for 2. You didn't get it, and we have not been great going for 2, by the way, this year. So you put yourself behind the 8 ball again. Then you get another score and you go up, and he does, he makes the extra point on that one. So now you're like, okay, but you already cost yourself. And then it's just some of the other thinking at different points of time that you could have eaten up more clock depending on how you wanted to do stuff. The thing that bothered me the most, as far as a coach goes, right? The second you made the 4th and 19, by the way, that was borderline a moment that could compare with Phil Simms on his 4th and 17.
I thought about that, but that was a Super Bowl team. But it did enter my mind too.
But when it happened, you didn't know that it would be the Super Bowl team. It was in the middle of the season. You just knew that was a big deal.
The Giants were one of the best teams in the league that year.
I understand that, but what I'm talking about is from a quarterback perspective. Right. As Bill Parcells said, we've heard it. Simms even said it. That's when he said he knew that was the guy. Yeah, he was the guy.
Right. And Lawrence Taylor said it too.
This would have been a moment for Dart. You just made a 4th and 19. Now, it was questionable if he had the first down or not, but they gave it to him, and we got the 15-yard penalty on top of it. But that was a huge, huge play. That would have been a huge moment. As you're moving down the field, because now you get the 15 yards. I was telling my wife this, as you said, she's probably getting annoyed to me. She was trying to read her book at the same time. And I'm sitting there like, there's no reason for this. There's no reason for the Giants to be hurrying at all at this point. There's no reason to be taking deep shots down the field. Use the middle of the field, the one spot that Denver's going to give you because they want the clock to run too. Use it. That will get you the most yards that you can get early on before the field shrinks up. Use the middle of the field. What do? They're throwing it down the sidelines. It worked out because of the pass interference penalty. But again, that's not smart thinking overall, because if you had that very easily could not have been pass interference. It was a bad pass, and Bo Collins didn't make a huge effort to get back. Plus, he's also an undrafted free agent, and refs tend to hold the flag a little bit without it being a guy you know about.
Giants got lucky on that.
But if you threw just a couple across the middle and picked up 10, 15, whatever yards, and the clock is running, you're ultimately taking all the time away from Denver. You have to be thinking both things at the same time. You do have to score, but the process of attack says take advantage of the thing they're going to give you, which is the middle. The Giants didn't do that. They kept trying to throw it down into the end zone. I'm thinking, why are you trying to get there so fast when you have not been able to do that all day? Attack them where they're going to give it to you, but they didn't. And that, to me, was a huge flaw. It was a huge flaw on the drive before, and it was a huge flaw in this one.
Yeah, but I'm not going to criticize the offense too much in this game. I'm going to me, and again, the defense played fine for 3 quarters. Sure. I don't know what, and we got a problem if Adebo and Holland are out for a while. If we go into Philadelphia and they're out,
and Brian Burns might be out. I mean, he was in a boot after the game.
Yeah, so I mean, this might be the beginning of the end here. So this was in many ways, this was a costly loss, and I suspect we're just going to, I hate to say it, because Dart is exciting and Scadaboo is exciting, and there are things to watch, but I suspect we're going to be just counting down the days until January, until we see what they do with the coaching staff and or the GM at that point. And I hate being in that place again, but that's where we're at.
Well, I would
bring these clowns back again, John. I might tap out because I don't know why I'd waste my time with this anymore.
I would say the season for Dayball's career probably as a head coach is on the line this weekend. If you get blown out by Philadelphia, and by the way, they are going to want to. They are going to want to blow you out. They are pissed about what happened the week before. They came back. They beat Minnesota. Now, again, they didn't play great against Minnesota, by the way. Minnesota, thank God, with Carson Wentz, left that game way, way close. They could have been much better with a different quarterback. That being said, Philadelphia's going to want to come after the Giants like there's no tomorrow.
And the Giants are wounded animals psychologically and physically right now. So,
but they were that way coming off the Saints. So this is Dayball's thing. Like if you lose here and you get blown out, I think this is the one that'll actually register even more than the Denver one, because we know how Mara feels about the Eagles. We know how he feels about Barkley. If you go in and they just walk over you, and it could happen. Now, real quick, because I know we want to keep this tight, I want to ask you something about somebody in particular. What are your thoughts? Okay, you already gave me the Deonte Banks things. But for me, again, Deonte Banks, and I said this before, and I didn't screw up the analogy. I said it the way I wanted to say it. He is literally subtraction by addition. The second he hits the field, you've already given up a couple of points. He can't play. He cannot play. When you listen to him talk after, he has no heart in any of what he does. It's almost like he doesn't even care. It's literally like he's just talking about something he played a video game. Dexter Lawrence, on the other hand, I'm having a real problem trying to figure out what is going on with this guy. He doesn't play as much as he used to. His impact is here or there, but then when he talks after the game and stuff, I can't tell. Is he pissed off at the coaches, or is he just like, it's just the way that it is?
I think all the players I think the defensive players think their leader sucks. That's my opinion. I think they think they're in a terrible situation because the guy that coaches their unit is not a qualified. He's a plumber who can't fix a pipe. He's horrible at his job. He got his job because of Vrabel's reputation, and he's over his head. And I think we got whispers of that last year. And I think, and again, they've said it. They saw it when they were walking into the locker room. They were publicly venting. And so,
Burns was for sure. Yeah.
I was kind of surprised they rolled old Karake out to talk to the press today, because he doesn't like him either. So it's a bad situation, John. It's so weird because we have an exciting quarterback, but we're stuck with these coaches. Yet the coach is the one who kind of brought Dart in here, and like you said, you better separate them at some point. So the whole thing is just a convoluted mess at this point. And I feel bad for Dart, and I feel bad for Scadaboo, and I feel bad for some of the other younger players. That I hope this losing stink doesn't wear off on them. But it's there. It's on Dexter. It's on Burns. It's on these other players, and some of the other players that we've brought in came from losing situations, like Burns and Adebo. They haven't had winning success either. Holland, the same thing. Though Miami had that one good year. So we've got a bunch of players that are used to losing right now,
Right.
and that's not helping either. We need somebody to come in here who has some gravitas and some. It's not new to the job, and so, and I hate saying retread because retread has
But
a negative pejorative.
sure. But
You
Tom
know,
Coughlin technically was. I mean, Tom Coughlin fit that same scenario. He
yeah.
was a previous head coach with Jacksonville, came here, after that. So it was his second sheet. Dick Vermeil was.
Yeah.
From the Eagles to the Rams. It's not unheard. I think Mike McCarthy's a guy you're going to have to start thinking about down the road. A guy who knows offense, who makes teams win. They kind of blow it in the playoffs. But you know what? If we lost in the playoffs, I'd be okay with that. You know what? I would be okay with that because we're in the playoffs.
And I know it was bad with his only other head coaching position, and I know he's a little bit older, but he doesn't act or sound older to me. But I still think that if Spags was on this team, this defense is at a different level because because the talent is there on this defense, and the pass rushers are there on this defense.
I just
one
worry
last
that
thing on Banks. We're talking about what was that?
I was just gonna say, I just worry that Spags is not a head coach. He's more.
Oh, I know that.
He's a great coordinator.
I could see them doing it because of the connection.
Yes.
Connection to the franchise, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for him as a defensive coach. When I watch Kansas City, they are so well coached on defense. So I'm like, if you can get a good offensive coordinator, but anyway, like you said, there's a risk there. One last thing on Banks is if there was rumors were true and we were shopping him to Miami as part of the Waddle deal, I think that's all. I think that's off because they're going to look at that and say, you know what, we don't want anything to do with Banks at this point.
Hold on. I got to put this up here. Mariner, I don't know where you come up with sucks in Green Bay and in Dallas. Go look at their records. I know what their playoff records were, but Jesus, we would take that in a heartbeat if our teams were 12-4 and 12-4. Yeah, at some point you move on from the guy if you can't get over the hump. But considered in Dallas what he was dealing with the owner there, the fact that he was 12-4 multiple times, I'm okay with that.
Wasn't he 15-1 in Green Bay? I'm not a McCarthy guy.
No, me either. I agree. But you got to. Yeah. I mean, you have to look. You already heard the Giants aren't going to go they're not going to bring in a guy like a Judge or a Shermer again.
They could, but I wouldn't go that route. I wouldn't go that route. Because I don't think American hire people with and plus he's sick. I don't know how that dynamic's going to.
That's true. That's a big thing.
Sicker and sicker. Do the other family members say, you know what? This is what I'm worried about. They say, you know what? We can't really make a major change right now. Dad's sick.
It'll upset him. Yeah.
It'll upset him. This is a mess. I mean, so if he's going to undergoing chemo and he's going to undergoing radiation and he's, again, you've got family who's
I'm dealing with that. Yeah.
You know how that is. That complicates this whole situation. So
without a doubt. I was gonna ask you real quick.
By the way, I guess we lost the under/over.
Yeah, so. We're gonna end it real quick though. Yeah. I was thinking right now. I mean, as you move forward, the dart piece is super important. A few wins here and there might not seem like a big deal, but for dart, it's got to be. You can't suddenly go on a 7-8 game lose streak. What do you think about the media turn, right? We've had it before where the Giants would win a couple of games and the media would still treat the Giants like they were complete crap. I got the sun coming around on the side here. And then now all of a sudden it's like they lost a game, pathetically lost the game. And media people are like, Giants fans, you've got to be excited. You've got this. And I'm like, I'm excited for Dart. I'm excited for Scatterboo. I'm not excited about what I just saw. We literally embarrassed ourselves on national TV.
I missed that. So are you saying the reporters?
There's multiple. Good Morning Football had it. There was another national media.
Oh, they're saying you lost the game, but be excited.
But be excited. This team, they're so good, and they're better. And I'm like, that's a bad. Well,
they are. But that's the thing. So there is talent on this roster, but the coaching isn't there. So. Again,
it's a bad loss.
You don't look. Everybody, you and I lived through the Bill Parcells years. He lost some horrific games too.
Sure.
But when you do it, it happens over and over and over and over again, year after year. it's not an anomaly. It's a trend. It's an indicate you are what your record says you are.
Yes.
This keeps happening to him. It didn't keep happening to Tom Coughlin, Bill Parcells. Now, it did happen to Tom Coughlin that one year in 2006. Remember that even though we went to the playoffs and we lost to the Eagles, there were like 4 or 5 games that we lost in horrific fashion that year. It was one of the reasons where I was like turning on Tom Coughlin, even though we went to the playoffs that year, because I was like, remember that horrible play with Kiwanuka in Tennessee? And
oh my God, the sack that wasn't a sack, Vince Young.
The return with the Bears.
Devin Hester returning the missed field
goal. It was awful. And it kept happening to Coughlin, but then he turned it around. This keeps happening to Dable. And his defensive coordinator stinks. Look, it's not our opinions. The players think it. We saw it. Brian Burns, the best player on this team, went to the locker room screaming his head off about the defensive coordinator indirectly. We know, and you say, what's wrong with that? I think Dexter knows that the problem is the defensive coordinator. I think, and he's hurt too, but I think the players know that. Well, we know Okereke and Banks don't fit in well, and I don't care what Banks' opinion, like you said, I don't care what Banks' opinion, but he fit in better with Wink than he does here with Shane. So it's just a mess. So as I was afraid of, this is going to sink Dable, because Dable could theoretically make the argument that Dart's the future. I drafted him. I needed to be stuck to his hip because I'm the guy who can develop him. However, the flip side to that is he keeps losing games, and he's got a defensive coordinator that he picked that is a moron. So, and it's going to sink him too. So
I wonder too if some of the problem of the defensive coordinator, getting a defensive coordinator, is a little bit of what we heard, even though it was leaked out, and how it was leaked out is not really important to this part. But we heard that there were issues. The guys had a problem working with Daboll, that they don't like the way he handles his staff. They don't like the way, and that came from Wink's group. But there may be some truth to the fact. I mean, let's be honest, Kafka was in some sort of weird coaching prison all of last year and is only calling the plays this year, I think, because Daboll was forced to give up play calling. I truly believe he was forced to give up play calling.
Yeah.
Which everything screams that the Giants basically said, you can come back, but certain things have to happen. And I think Daboll brought his defensive coordinator back probably because who was he going to have? Yeah. Who was he going to get? So anyway,
my fear is this going to happen is they're going to go into Philadelphia. They're going to get whacked, and then they'll fire Shane Bowen when they should have done it this week. Again, it'll be like that thing that Ryan Dunleavy was talking about. They waited another week. Not that it would matter in the big picture, but it's just like this. They're reacting to things as, look, their critics are right and they are wrong, and they walk around with these big egos and the fans that they mock. Remember Bob Papa? Bobby Skinner.
You're not in the locker room.
You know what they're talking about. We know what we're talking about more than they know what they're talking about. They get defensive and they mock us, and then they end up admitting to the mistake, but they don't admit it publicly. They admit it by what they do. So here we are again.
Here we are.
But they suck the life out of you, and God bless the people that have walked away from this. I hate saying this because I wear my Giants stuff all the time when I'm out, and I still run into Giants fans, mostly older, going Giants, way to go. And it's cool when I do, so I might be outside on a walk and some guy's walking his dog. He's like, Giants, that's awesome. So I hate saying this, but the fans that have walked away and said, you know what, I've got something better to do on Sunday. I'm not doing this. They're probably in a better state of mind than we all are right now.
There's probably some truth to that. So we'll wrap. I don't, for Deonte Banks, I don't want to crap on him too much.
Yes,
I know. Well, listen, he just became a father recently. Though word on the street is that he wasn't actually trying to have any more kids. He just didn't get his head around fast enough. Anyway, that being said, he needs to be off the team as fast as possible.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, it's an albatross. It's something really bad. You just know when he comes out there. I don't think the other players have any confidence in him. It's bad. It's such to a point now where, I mean, he's a Dory Jackson level bad. He's Eli Apple. He's DeAndre Baker. It's that bad. So whatever.
Oh, he's not robbing anybody.
Oh, he is. He's robbing the Giants for his
Oh, you're
paycheck
right.
every week. So
There we go. John's on a roll.
So that being said, hey, we'll be back hopefully later in the week with a preview of the Eagles game, and that could be scary to do. But we'll get caught up on injuries. That's going to be kind of important to know what's going on. But hey, I appreciate the like.
Will it? That's any of
Well,
this any important anymore?
I mean, it is from, some of these guys are like, Burns is having a really good year, leads the NFL in sacks right now. It would really suck to have him be injured. And when he was giving it his all, I have no problem with him. I'm a little disappointed in Abdul Carter's play. He missed a couple of really bad tackles coming from the outside. You got to have contain. And then Kayvon Thibodeau is hit or miss. He's there and he's not there, but he doesn't make the game-changing plays, and it's disappointing. But overall,
yeah. But again, we've had games recently where we've praised all of those guys.
Oh, sure, I agree. But when it's one of those things though. When you here's the other last thing. Here's the other thing when you don't rush the max number that you could possibly bring, or, on that kind of situation. Where's all your money spent on defense? You've got 3 big-time edge rushers and a top of the league paying defensive tackle, and only one of them was really in any position to make anything happen. You had Roy Robertson Harris, and then you had Thibodeau on one side, but he's not beating anybody one-on-one with speed. He's certainly not beating 2 guys, and Burns is on the other side playing with 1.5 feet.
And look, you talked about it earlier about this isn't the 86 Giants. John, one of the reasons why I don't like the prevent defense is even when the Giants had the prevent defense with Lawrence Taylor, it didn't work.
Sure.
So when you had 3-man rush with the old Giants team, it didn't work then. So it's not going to work with these guys either. So there is a time and a place for a prevent in certain situations. So I don't want to slam it all the time. But when you're down by 2 points, that's not one of them. You're down by 2. That's not a prevent defense type of situation because a field goal loses the game for you. You can't go into prevent there. But moron did. Yeah, and everyone knows he's a moron. And Dable came out today and he said he's staying. So they're fucking stupid. It's a stupid team. The ownership is stupid. The coaches are stupid. The general managers are stupid. It's a freaking stupid team. And they deserve to lose that game because they do stupid things. And that's my final.
I just wish he had thrown one of the Surface Pros at Bowen. That would have just matched what he did with Jones that time, which again would still be his fault. You're the one who's calling the plays. You're the one who's setting the offense. So yeah. Anyway,
and like you said earlier, pay attention to the defense. When they came out and they wind up in the 3-man rush, why didn't he go, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
Then before the play was stop, timeout. I don't know if we had a timeout.
Again, why were we saving the timeout, by the way? When Burns is limping his way back, just call the timeout right there because the clock's going to stop because he's not going to make it to get onside. So the clock stops with a penalty. So we gave them free yards and a clock stoppage. You should have just called the timeout. And you could have rested your defense. Yes, he's stupid.
They're stupid.
That being said, we said we'd keep it to a half an hour. We missed it by about 23 minutes.
By that much.
So with that, like, subscribe, and yes, you might not agree with what I said about Wan'Dale Robinson, but when he signs somewhere else as a free agent in the offseason, don't come back crying that we got nothing for him because that's exactly what's going to happen. So that being said, we'll be back later this week. Appreciate everybody. Enjoy some other football that doesn't include the New York Giants.